Hey you all, Carpetbagger here, coming to you live from the south, more specifically Pigeon, Tennessee. And even more specifically than that, I'm in front of the Shroud Museum. Now I've been here, I've stopped by here a couple times. It's kind of been a mystery because all this year I've been trying to figure out when this was going to open up. The sign's been here a while, but guess what? You look over there, you can see there's an opening sign, an open sign. So we are going to finally get a chance to check out the Shroud Museum. And obviously they do not have the real shroud. This is more of a museum talking about the history of the shroud, what people believe scientifically about the shroud, and kind of a deep dive into what is the Shroud of Turin and why it is fascinating. So follow me.
Each exhibit is numbered, and just makes.
This is a certification that this is an official, full-sized replica of the Shroud of Turin. You can see kind of the faint image. Again, it's like a negative image. Now this is talking about the carbon dating done on the shroud. Apparently they were only able to use a piece that big, and it was dated to be like the medieval area. But it's saying that you know, that may not have been indicative. It was only a small piece of the shroud used. And of course, they don't allow any further testing on it because it is in a church in Italy. It's a very detailed dissection of the image on the Shroud of Turin. You can see the face. There's burn marks. I guess that's when it was burned. But here is the spear wound where Jesus was stabbed in the side. And on the back, they're showing that you can actually see the scourge marks where Jesus was whipped. There's blood on his feet from the crucifixion, and then blood on his wrists from the crucifixion, which actually is, the wrist is the, a lot of times you see the palm marks, stigmata, but the actual way that they did crucify people was on the wrist. So apparently, going back to the crucifixion, there was stories of images of Jesus' face left on his burial cloth. Apparently there was reports of the burial cloth with his face on being found in the walls of a church about 500 years after he was crucified. Now we're getting into some Da Vinci Code territory. It says that some of the Templars were actually burned to the stakes as heretics for worshiping the face on the shroud, I guess, worshiping a graven image, even though it was Jesus. And then this kind of time period, 1506, it's put on public display for the first time, but it wasn't until 1898 that the first photograph was taken, which kind of sent the popularity of the shroud into the mainstream. Here's the facts. Basically what they're saying is that the carbon dating of the shroud was maybe, it's a rewoven area, so it was a repaired area that is not legitimately part of the original cloth. So science cannot duplicate the image, science cannot explain how the image was formed. Now from everything I've heard, that's absolutely true. What I've heard, and some people that even don't believe that it is the original shroud, say that it appears to be a primitive photograph. And of course we're talking at the earliest, the 1200s, so that was before photography was invented. So regardless of what you feel about this is a very compelling piece. Yeah, here's one thing that's very interesting. The lights and darks reverse like a photographic negative. Again, in a photograph from the 1200s, you know, why would it look like that? And here's the first photo ever taken of the Shroud of Turin, 1898. Secondo Pia, he is one that took the photograph, the original photograph. This kind of shows where the shroud has traveled around the globe. It went to Constantinople, not Istanbul, Athens, Greece, and moved around in Italy a bit. some of the scientific work that has been done on the shroud. Now this is a VP8 image analyzer that turns flat images into 3D images, and showing some of the images that were made 3D of the shroud, and it does look very, very compelling. Some really in-depth look. They have a microscopic look at some of the fibers from the shroud. Some of the microscopic images of the blood on the shroud. The facts of crucifixion, kind of a scientific look at crucifixion. You can see, yeah, crucifixion's horrible because it causes your body to collapse on you from being held in such a grueling position. Gosh, we've seen crucifixion images with Jesus so much that kind of forget how gruesome it is. Look at this, is like a scientific diagram of what goes on in a crucifixion. It's Frederick T. Zugaby. He is a pathologist that studied crucifixion. I would not like to be this poor fellow, his guinea pig. And kind of, I guess, did the what damage crucifixion would do to the body, and I guess it would be consistent with what is found on the shroud. This is interesting. It's saying that the crown of thorns was actually a cap of thrones, that it was almost like a dome that went over Jesus' head during the crucifixion. That's a recreation. It's a Roman spear, of course, a spear we used to stab Jesus in the side during the crucifixion. And of course, horrible weapons that Romans would use to beat prisoners before crucifixion. Yeah, there's a flogging pole right there. Now here is a bone, or a replica of a bone, that was found in Jerusalem, showing the crucifixion of a body. That is a bone, I guess a foot bone, with a nail through it. Here's some actual crucifixion nails discovered in 2001 in the 1st century.
To the wrist.
That's the wrist mark right there.
This is actually blood here. There's 24 puncture wounds to the top of the head, around the crown of the head.
That would be these right here, the white areas.
Yeah. There's actually blood mingled into the hair on the sides. The nose is real bloody. The mustache, the beard. You can actually see the bottom row of teeth right here through his lip.
Huh. And this is the back side.
Yeah, there's more than 120 scourges from the top to the bottom.
Yeah, all down the legs.
Notice how large his calf muscles are. The man did a lot of walking.
Yeah. Yeah.
What they done, they laid the cloth down, put the body on the cloth, and then they removed this piece of linen here and used this, the whole 14-foot length, to wrap around the body.
Okay.
Yeah. Contusion here, his face is not asymmetrical.
Yeah.
He has a contusion here on the jaw, his eyes swollen. He also has a contusion across the bridge of the nose.
And this is the Sudarium of Oviedo. They're saying this is the second cloth, one that was placed directly over Jesus' face, and it said that it was concluded that what did come from the same body. I guess this had been found in Spain. Here's a replica of it. Said that the blood types matched, and that the cloth matched.
In the scriptures, it mentioned that when they entered the tomb, that there were the grave clothes and also the face cloth laid to itself, folded in a place by itself. They've taken pollen off of this face cloth, the Sudarium of Oviedo, Sudarium meaning face cloth or napkin, and it's in Oviedo, Spain today. They've taken pollen off of that, and they've matched that pollen up with a plant called a Gendela tornforte. Mm-hmm. That plant only grows in Jerusalem and Palestine.
Okay.
3 or 4 months out of the year, and 30 miles out of the Palestine and Jerusalem area, you don't find that plant anymore. They also found AB human blood on this cloth as well. And they found AB human blood on this cloth, as well as pollen around the face, beard, and head area from the Gandela torn forte plant.
The garden tomb entrance. So this would have been the tomb. I guess that would be the Shroud of Turin right there. And there's the face covering next to the crown of thrones. Here's a 3D graphic artist that's recreated the face scene in the Shroud of Turin. So wow, very well thought out, very well presented museum talking about the Shroud of Turin and its and the genuineness of it. I think, you know, there's some facts that everyone does agree on, that that the youngest it can be is medieval era. And I don't believe anyone can really figure out how the image was created. I've heard a lot of theories that it was created like a photograph, but again, they certainly did not have anywhere near that technology in the medieval times. And Lonnie, the owner, was talking to me about how that there's the blood that is on the shroud. For some reason, it's still red, but it is separate from the images that are making up the actual shroud. So there's like little dots that create the image, the negative image that appears to be Jesus, of course, on the shroud. And he talked a lot about the samples. I guess the notorious samples showed it to be from the medieval era, and he was saying that there was evidence that the samples had been repaired, had cotton put in them at some point. A lot of things have happened to the shroud. It's got water damage, it's been burned, but apparently there is blood on it, a genuine human blood. I don't know. I don't know the answers. I'm not an expert, but I can say without a shadow of a doubt, very, very compelling. One of the most compelling artifacts in world history. It makes me want to go see the real shroud now. But anyways, I appreciate you guys watching. Please check down in the description. I have an interactive map that'll show you all the places I've been, and you can suggest places I need to go. Come out here and check out the Shroud Museum for yourself and tell me what you think in the comments section. Also, if you'd like to help contribute to the channel, consider buying a t-shirt. Consider donating to Patreon. A donation of $3 or more will get you a postcard once a month. But for now, this one's in the bag.